After the death of Joshua, the Israelites lived among the Canaanites, adopted many of their practices, including worshiping their gods and intermarrying with them. Israel had departed from following the Torah of the Lord, who brought them out of Egypt and gave them the land of the Canaanites. And this inaugurates the period of the judges of Israel, which lasted roughly 400 years. In this chapter, the Bible relates the accounts of two instances lasting 8 and 18 years respectively, when God sold Israel into the hands of oppressors. When the children of Israel cried out to God, he gave them two judges, Othniel and Ehud, and one deliverer, Shamgar. Othniel and Ehud ruled Israel for a combined 120 years. Out of all those years, God allowed Israel to be oppressed for only 26 years. Now, what do these two judges tell us about God's rest? I'm Dan Cathcart, and this is the Promise of Rest. The period of time covered in this one chapter of the book of Judges was over a century. Some scholars include the periods of time that Israel was under subjugation by other nations as simultaneous with the years of rulership by the judges. Other scholars differentiate these years. So the actual length of time covered in this chapter can be interpreted in two different ways, lasting between 120 and 146 years. Now, we can better get a concept of how long this period lasted if we compare this length of time to the time immediately after the formation of the United States. Using the longer time of 146 years, this takes us from the founding of the United States in 1776 to the year 1922. Now, just ponder all the historical, cultural, and spiritual changes that occurred over this time period. The first judge that God raised up over Israel was Othniel. This account of Othniel, which only includes 4 verses, establishes the pattern for Israel over the next 400 years. The Zondervan NIV Study Bible comments on this pattern. In the account of Othniel's judgeship, the author provides the basic literary form he uses in his account of the major judges. That is, beginning, apostasy, oppression, distress, deliverance, recognizable conclusion. Now, filling it out in each case with the materials he considered necessary to his purpose. So let's get started and examine this short account about the judge Othniel, beginning with Israel turning away from God and God selling them into servitude. Judges 3, verses 7 and 8. So the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord. They forgot the Lord their God and served the Baals and Asherahs. Therefore the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and he sold them into the hand of Cushan-Rishathaim, king of Mesopotamia. And the children of Israel served Cushan-Rishathaim 8 years. Israel began to serve the gods of the cities of the Canaanites among whom they dwelled. The plural form for Baals and Asherahs is used because each city had its own variation of worship of these gods. In Numbers 25:5, the Baal that the Midianites served at that place was Baal Peor. The Hebrew word Baal, number 1167 in Strong's Concordance, just means master. The god of each city was the master. The Brown Driver Briggs lexicon defines Asherah, number 842, as groves. Easton's Bible Dictionary states that its symbol was the stem of a tree, deprived of its boughs, and rudely shaped into an image, and planted in the ground. When the Israelites adopted this worship of Canaanite gods in the cities where they lived, they forsook the Lord God. The Lord's tabernacle was set up in Shiloh. The Israelites were to go to Shiloh 3 times a year to bring their offerings and sacrifices to God's altar. They were not to bring sacrifices and offerings to any other place except to God's altar. God became angry with Israel and sold them into the hands of the Mesopotamian king Cushan-Rishathaim. His name, number 3573, means Cushan, of double wickedness. The name recorded here may have been a mockery of his actual name. The NKJV Study Bible comments on this possibility. This may not have been his actual name, but instead a name pinned on him by the author of Judges for ridicule. Note that this name is found 4 times in 2 verses, verses 8 and 10, which may support the point that the author was mocking the king. This king, the first enemy of the newly formed nation of Israel, was from the land of Mesopotamia. The literal translation of the word Mesopotamia from the Hebrew would be Aram, the land between the 2 rivers. This is the land that Abraham first came from. In Genesis 24:10, when Abraham sought a wife for Isaac, he sent his servant to the city of Nahor in Mesopotamia, where the family of his brother Nahor lived. The future empire of Babylon would be centered in this region. Also, the first battle recorded in the Bible was between 4 cities from this region and the 5 cities of the plain in the Jordan Valley. Now, the first battles that Israel fights against outside invaders is against this king from Mesopotamia, who invades the land of Israel. In fact, the situations surrounding these 2 battles are very similar. In Genesis 14, the kings of Mesopotamia conquer the 5 cities of the Jordan Valley and demand tribute. After 13 years, the 5 cities rebel, and the kings of Mesopotamia came to enforce their rule. In Israel, King Cushan invades Israel and put them under tribute. After 8 years of servitude, the children of Israel had had enough and called out to God for help. Judges 3:9-10. When the children of Israel cried out to the Lord raised up a deliverer for the children of Israel who delivered them. Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother. The Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he judged Israel. He went out to war, and the Lord delivered Cushan-Rishathaim, the king of Mesopotamia, into his hands, and the hand prevailed over Cushan-Rishathaim. This first sentence in verse 9 is repeated throughout the book of Judges. When the children of Israel cried out to the Lord raised up a deliverer for the children of Israel. The word deliverer is the Hebrew word Moshiach, from the Hebrew word Yasha, number 3467, meaning to be open, wide, or free, to be safe, to free, deliver, or rescue. This is the root word for the name Yeshua. Now, in this case, the deliverer is Othniel, the brother or nephew of Caleb. Now, like Caleb, Othniel is from the tribe of Judah. We first met Othniel before. Caleb offered his daughter in marriage to whoever took the lead in taking the city of Debir near Hebron. Othniel is the one who stepped up to the challenge, took Debir, and married Caleb's daughter. Othniel's name is number 6274, means force of God. So Othniel of the tribe of Judah in the southern part of Israel leads the tribes against the invading king from the north. Now it seems strange that God would choose a leader from the opposite end of the country from the source of the conflict. However, in the early days of the conquest of the Promised Land, it was the tribe of Judah that had the most success in taking their portion of the land. This pairing is also prophetic of a future battle between the Antichrist, the king of double wickedness from Mesopotamia, and Yeshua, the force of God from the tribe of Judah. God's choice of Othniel was confirmed when God's Spirit came upon him. The Spirit gave Othniel the wisdom to judge Israel, to begin to judge Israel before he went out to war against King Cushan. Now remember, the duty of the judge is to put right and then rule. Othniel had to put things right in Israel before he could defeat his enemies. Joshua told the children of Israel in Joshua 23:10-11 that if they followed God's Torah, one man could defeat 1,000. God fights for Israel and delivers King Cushan to the hands of Othniel. Now this time, the Hebrew word for deliver is Nathan, number 54:14, meaning to give, such as a gift. God gifted Othniel with victory over Cushan. After the victory, Othniel continued to judge Israel, and the land of Israel had rest for 40 years. Judges 3, verse 11. So the land had rest for 40 years. Then Othniel, the son of Kenaz, died. After Othniel died, Israel repeated the pattern of apostasy, oppression, distress, deliverance, and conclusion. Judges 3, 12-14. And the children of Israel again did evil in the sight of the Lord. So the Lord strengthened Eglon, king of Moab, against Israel, because they had done evil in the sight of the Lord. Then he gathered to himself the people of Ammon and Amalek, and went and defeated Israel, and took possession of the city of palms. So the children of Israel served Eglon, king of Moab, 18 years. Now this time the invading force came from the southeast. Moab was south and east of the Dead Sea, Ammon was east of Jericho, and Amalek was south of Israel. Eglon was from the same nation that enticed Israel to sin in the plains of Moab before they entered the Promised Land. At that time, King Balak of Moab hired Balaam to curse Israel. When that didn't work, Balaam and Balak came up with the plan to get Israel to sin by worshiping Baal Peor. The name Eglon is number 5700, and it means virtualing, which in turn means of relating to or like a calf or veal. It suggests a return to worshiping the golden calf. Eglon invaded Israel through Jericho, the same place that the children of Israel entered the land. Although Joshua destroyed Jericho, another city called the City of Palms sprang up near that ancient city of Jericho. Now Eglon set up his rule over Israel at the City of Palms. The children of Israel served Eglon for 18 years, bringing their tribute to Eglon in the City of Palms. Now once again, when the children of Israel had had enough, they cried out to God, and the Lord raised up a deliverer. Now the deliverer's name was Ehud, from the tribe of Benjamin. Judges 3, verse 15. But when the children of Israel cried out to the Lord raised up a deliverer for them, Ehud, the son of Gera, the Benjamite, a left-handed man. By him the children of Israel sent tribute to Eglon, king of Moab. The name Ehud is number 164, means unity. The children of Israel sent their tribute through him. They were united behind him. There is an interesting wordplay in this account of bringing tribute to Eglon that points to the mincha offering to God. The word tribute is the Hebrew word mincha, number 4503, meaning to bestow a gift, tribute, or offering. An example of this is when Jacob was preparing to meet Esau. Jacob sent Esau gifts, or mincha, to appease his anger. Now, the mincha offering is usually grain, but it could be of any gift given to God. Now, it just so happens that Ehud's father was Gera, whose name is number 1617 and means a measure of grain. So, the children of Israel united to bring an offering to Eglon, the calf. This offering may have included a measure of grain, although it's most likely to have been gold, silver, or jewels. On the surface, Ehud's gift was pleasing to Eglon, but Ehud has a surprise for Eglon. Ehud made a special dagger that he could hide under his clothes. Judges 3, 16-18. Now Ehud made for himself a dagger. It was double-edged and a cubit in length, and fastened it under his clothes on his right thigh. So he brought the tribute to Eglon, the king of Moab. Now Eglon was a very fat man, and when he had finished presenting the tribute, he sent away the people who had carried the tribute. The author of Judges notes that Eglon is a very fat man. Now this is important information as Ehud delivers his special surprise. However, there's an underlying meaning to this word fat that adds to the wordplay in this passage. The word fat is the Hebrew word bari, number 1277, meaning fatted or plump. It is used most often in regard to a calf or animal that is fatted for slaughter. The first use of the word is in Pharaoh's dream of the 7 fatted cattle in Genesis 41:2. Eglon was fatted to be slaughtered by the sharp dagger that Ehud had prepared. After Ehud had brought the tribute to Eglon, he sent away his retinue. When they were far enough away, past Gilgal, Ehud returned by himself to Eglon, Judges 3, verse 19. But he himself turned back from the stone images that were at Gilgal and said, "I have a secret message for you, O king," he said. "Keep silence." And all who attended him went out from him. The stone images at Gilgal may have been memorial stelas commemorating Eglon's victory over Israel. The Cultural Background Study Bible comments on the probable understanding of these images. Here, it seems best to interpret these objects as stelas, either marking the boundary of the territory claimed by Eglon or as a monument to a battle by which Eglon achieved control over this region. In contrast to these stones, or these stone images, that Eglon had set up near Gilgal, Joshua 4:21 and 22 tells us that the children of Israel had set up 12 stones in Gilgal to commemorate that God had the children of Israel cross over the Jordan River into the Promised Land on dry ground. Those stones commemorating God's victory and authority over all the earth. Now, when Ehud returned to Eglon, he told Eglon that he had a secret message for him from God. Eglon was totally taken in by the hint of a special message for him. Now he sent his attendants away and met with Ehud by himself. Ehud's message was to kill Eglon, the fatted calf. Judges 3:20 through 22. Ehud came to him while he was sitting alone in his cool roof chamber, and Ehud said, "I have a message from God for you." And he arose from his seat. Ehud stretched out his left hand, took the sword from his right thigh, and thrust it into his belly. The handle also went in after the blade, and the fat closed over the blade. For he did not draw the sword out of his belly, and the refuse came out. Ehud took his dagger and thrust it into Eglon's belly. In the wordplay, Eglon becomes a type of Mincha offering to God. Now this also takes us back once again to the time when Balak, king of Moab, enticed Israel to sin by worshiping and bringing offerings to Baal Peor. This angered God, and he sent a plague on Israel. In Numbers 25:8, the priest Phinehas took a javelin and thrust it through the belly of the woman who enticed the man of Israel to sin and stopped the plague. After stabbing Eglon, Ehud left Eglon to die in his upper room. Now he locked the door behind him, which gave him time to pass beyond the carved stela and out of Eglon's territory. He went to the mountains of Ephraim to bring down the army that he had gathered to battle against the Moabites. Judges 3:26 through 29. But Ehud had escaped while they delayed and passed beyond the stone images and escaped to Seirah. And it happened, when he arrived, that he blew the trumpet in the mountains of Ephraim, and the children of Israel went down with him from the mountains, and he led them. Then he said to them, "Follow me, for the Lord has delivered your enemies, the Moabites, into your hand." So they went down after him, seized the fords of the Jordan leading to Moab, and did not allow anyone to cross over. And at that time they killed about 10,000 men of Moab, all stout men of valor, not a man escaped. Ehud, like Othniel, led the Israelites in battle. The Lord delivered or gifted the Moabites into Ehud's hand. And once again we see the concept of one man chasing 1,000. Then the land was once again had rest. Judges 3, verse 30. So Moab was subdued that day under the hand of Israel, and the land had rest for 80 years. After this account, the book of Judges briefly mentions a man named Shamgar, the son of Anath, Judges 3, verse 31. After him was Shamgar, the son of Anath, who killed 600 men of the Philistines with an ox goad, and he also delivered Israel. Shamgar is counted among the judges of Israel. However, a close reading of this verse shows that although Shamgar delivered Israel, he did not judge Israel. The name Shamgar does not appear to be of Hebrew origin. It is based on a 4-letter root as opposed to the 3-letter roots of Hebrew. Further, the name Anath is the name of a Canaanite goddess. The NKJV Study Bible comments on the identity of Shamgar. Even the name Shamgar is not Hebrew, yet he is the son of Anath, clearly a Semitic name. This may mean that he was from the town of Beth Anath in Galilee. More probably, however, Anath is derived from the name of the Canaanite warrior goddess. If so, then it is ironic that God used a foreign warrior to deliver Israel. During the time of these first 3 judges, or 2 judges and 1 deliverer, the land of Israel had rest for 120 years. However, the Canaanites were still in the land, and the children of Israel dwelled among them. They were tempted and enticed into worshiping the gods of the Canaanites instead of going up to Shiloh to worship at the tabernacle of meeting and bringing their offerings to God's altar there. The first oppressor came out of the northeast, similar to the events in the life of Abraham. The second oppressor came out of the east, similar to events when Israel was about to enter the Promised Land. In both situations, God showed that he was faithful to his covenant and to the people, just like he was faithful to his promises to Abraham and to Moses. When the children of Israel cried out to him, he raised up a deliverer for them. We also have a deliverer, Yeshua. We live among idolaters, atheists, and those who reject God. We are tempted or enticed into following their ways instead of following God. When we cry out to God in our distress, we know that he hears us and has already sent our deliverer. I'm Dan Cathcart for Moed Ministries International. Shalom and be blessed.